we are with a really good friend of mine, Jason, who is a day one member of this group and true watch enthusiast. Hi, Jason. How are you, buddy?
Guys, good. How are you?
Great, thank you. And I'm looking at some pieces you brought tonight. We have here orange bezel Planet Ocean, and when we were talking earlier, you told me this was your very first luxury timepiece.
Yeah, exactly my first one.
And what did you like about it? Why did you pick that as your first timepiece?
At that time, I still don't have my driver license. I take my bicycle to buy it. And then why I like it just because that time 007, I really into the movie, and James Bond wear the Omega.
So you were definitely influenced by the pop culture of James Bond.
Yep. And
Interesting.
Then, that time I'm 20 years old or 21st, and then I do like the orange color.
So you were 21 years old when you actually started getting into watches.
Yes.
And from our conversation earlier, you kind of told me that Omega was your first love.
Yeah, Omega was my first love.
So you started collecting Omega, probably also influenced by that James Bond movies, because at your age, James Bond was more Omega. At my age, it was more Rolex. So that's probably why you started like that. And then later on, Omega turned more into, what was your next brand of love?
After the Omega, actually I go with my Breitling.
Breitling was your next discovery,
Yeah,
right?
next discovery.
And finally?
Finally, obviously you see two Daytona there and Rolex, yeah.
And Rolex was next brand.
Next brand, Rolex.
So you brought us tonight the Omega Planet Ocean orange bezel with a really cool rubber band. And Jason, what type of band is this? What type of is this actually Omega?
Actually Omega.
It's actually Omega.
Official one.
Official one. I have this piece, just the older version. I love it. Oops, sorry, you're talking it the wrong way. And I think it looks fantastic on this rubber band. It makes it pop. The orange color really pops out of it. You agree?
I agree. That's perfect to you wear it go to Cuba or Cancun.
Yeah.
Vacation.
And then you brought two of your Daytonas.
Yeah, my favorite.
So one wasn't enough.
You told me to bring it.
And you basically chose to have two of most wanted steel Daytonas.
Yeah.
Two ceramic Daytonas. They truly look beautiful next to each other, don't you think?
I agree, 100%.
They complement. These two dials go together. It's like a yin and yang.
Okay.
Am I right?
Similar price. Yeah.
Very beautiful. Thank you for bringing those two. I think they look fantastic together. And Clooney loves to see them as a pair.
Thank you.
And then one of your earlier watches, and obviously watch that really represents your love for Breitling.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. I love that white dial. Cream white dial.
The white dial and the blue is perfect match.
Why do you love watches, Jason? What do you like about them?
When you look at the time, it seems like it tells more than the phone. And then I totally agree, watch is the only jewelry the man can wear. Probably you can have wedding band and then a necklace, but most time people see, they look on your wrist, they look at your watch. And in some way watch hold their value, and sometimes just watch is watch, that's my love.
And you also started now to work in retail.
Yeah.
So you were around the watches all day long.
Yeah.
And you love every moment of it.
Then the other thing is after I was just in all the jacket and the shirt just up, I figured out I can handle the golden pieces of Rolex. Then I think that's so dangerous. I working there. Probably what I earned for the whole year, I spend it all in the store probably. Yeah.
Awesome, man. I love having you in our group. I think you're a great friend, and I think you're a true watch enthusiast. You're also in our Facebook group, Horology Talk, and I love that you're part of my world. Clooney loves Jason. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
And here are are some of the watches. I'm sitting here with our newest member, Mike. And here's some of his timepieces. So why don't we start from the left here, Mike? What do we have here?
Well, what we have there is a 1966 Bulova Accutron Space View.
And what's so cool about this watch?
Well, I grew up in the 60s, and kids that grew up in that day remember the space race. Mm-hmm. And the space, what they don't know about space is that the astronauts wore Omega Speed View to the moon, but they never owned those watches. Those watches were owned by NASA and were taken back. But all the official NASA timekeeping was done by Bulova. And people of my generation and older would remember on TV, when they said what is the time on radio and TV, it was Bulova Accutron time.
Right.
So that all came back to me. And in the fall of last year, I saw this come up on Facebook for sale. Mm-hmm. And I like camping, and my wife and I happen to be camping in Michigan, and it was being sold by a fella from the University of Michigan.
I see.
And so on a Friday with rush hour traffic, it took me 2 hours to get from Rochester Hills to Ann Arbor, and I made the deal on the watch. And what's nice, it's in great condition, and it's got a very good strap. It's got a Kolareb strap on it.
Oh, it's a Kolareb on it.
Kolareb strap.
Oh, cool.
And it's a really nice watch, and as I explained in the group, I'm kind of funny. I only wear one watch a month. So I bought that in October, and that was my November watch I wore. So that's the story of the Space View.
Very nice, Mike. And what do we have here? The next one is, it has such a unique case, eh?
It really does, and that's what attracted my eye. My friend and lodge brother, Vraj Fossian, owner of On Time Jewelry, who if anybody's going to...
Our friend, Mike. Our friend
is a great, great guy, a superb guy, and a great businessman, and an expert horologist.
Absolutely.
He went to school. And I was going through some of Vraj's old drawer there, where he's got some of his watches for refurb, and this one came up, and it had a different band on it, but I really liked the shape of it, and immediately, because it was a Bulova and an Accutron, I was attracted to it, because what you notice, unlike all other battery-powered watches, look how smooth that second hand is.
Of course.
It's as smooth as a 36,000 beat per hour type watch, like your high-end Rolex.
High-frequency one, yeah?
Yeah, most are at 28.8, some are at 36,000, and this is butter smooth. What also attracted to me was the shape of it, like a spaceship.
That's right.
And
that 70s spaceship age, yes.
And if you know Bulovas, the year is always indicated on the top. If it begins with an L, it's in the 50s. If it begins with an M, it's in the 60s, and an N is 70s.
I did not know that.
That is true.
Bear Clooney did not know that fact. Thank you, Mike.
No problem. So this one here is an N0, which means it's a 1970. The one you looked at before was an M6, which is a 1966.
Very cool.
So
obviously, you're a Bulova fan. You really love Bulova brand.
A lot of people chase the high watches or the names or watch snobs, so we sometimes call them. For me, I've always liked the fit and function of the watches, but I'm very fond of Bulova. It's a good quality watch at, I think, a mid-range price, like usually in the mid-hundreds, maybe $400 to $800, and you get a really good watch. And some of the vintage ones, you can even get better deals. But yeah, I own 21 watches in total. 5 of them are Bulovas.
21 watches, you say?
21 watches.
Good man.
My wife might not agree with you.
And what do we have here? This little cute piece.
This one is called the Diesel, not to be confused with the modern diesel.
Yes.
This is D-I-S-E-L. It's a German watch. And how I came about it, it was my dad's watch, who thankfully is my dad. Both my parents are still around.
So obviously there's something very unique about it.
It's very unique. It's just a standard wind-up watch, and like most watches of its era in the 50s, it says that it's Inca block, meaning that the mainspring is unbreakable, and of course they have the anti-magnetic marker on the back, so you always see that on the back side, the thing. And it's a fun little watch to wear, small by modern standards, and I got a bigger wrist, so it's small on the wrist, but it's a nice watch and it's sentimental. And with my watches, I don't sell or sell them. In fact, I have a list, and I have 3 children, a daughter and 2 sons, and when I go, my sons will get some of my watches, my nephew, who's a watch nut, and my son-in-law. And right there I said that when they go, these watches have to go to my grandchildren and my great-nephews, or I'll be back to haunt the buggers.
Fantastic.
So that's how I am about that.
Here we have obviously a newer piece.
Yeah.
It's a Bulova.
It's a Bulova Marine Star. I got that in January, and I got that my company, Valiant. I'll tell everybody. I was there. I've been there 30 years full time this past year. In
So this was a company gift?
company gift. You can see the engraving on the back, and what they do is they give us a selection of gifts we can pick. And I asked my wife, what do you think I should get? And she said, yeah, I know you're going to get the watch.
Of course.
So again, it's a nice Bulova. Like all Bulovas, very accurate. It's a little heavy watch, but not too heavy, and it fits really nice on the wrist. It's my watch I'm wearing this month. It's my February watch.
Wonderful, Mike. And the last piece you brought tonight is this absolutely gorgeous rose Tudor.
Yeah, it's a 1962-63, which for me is kind of special because I'm born in 63 and I wanted it that vintage. That's another watch from our friend Vrage. He refurbed it for me. We couldn't have the original bracelet, but he found a bracelet as close to the original as he can. And those Prince Oyster dates from that day, they were built side by side with the Rolex. So you'll see all the Rolex engravings on the back.
I see.
You'll see it on the crown. It is a Rolex Prince Oyster date. It's identical to the Rolex of that year. I didn't buy it because of that. Although
You just love the watch
I
itself.
just love the watch, and that one I got for my wife because I told her, I said, if I see a Rolex family watch and I can get it for $1,000 or less, I'm just buying it and not telling you I'm going to get it. So I wanted to get it. It's a very nice watch. It's coming up in my watch wearing rotation later this year. So it's a fun watch to wear. I wear all my watches. They're made to be worn. If they get a scuff mark on them, that's a sign of the wear, and I really enjoy them.
So thank you very much, Mike, for sharing this few pieces from your huge collection.
Well, it's modest collection. I'm just a watch guy, and I enjoy the watches.
You truly are a watch guy, aren't you?
I am, and Mike, thanks for reaching out to me and getting in touch. And I've been to Rage's shop. I saw your video at his place, and you're doing a great service to the watch community.
Thank you very much, Mike. Really
you, Mike.
appreciate your coming and becoming a part of this great group.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem.